Hey everyone. Yeah, I was reflecting all the years that I was incarcerated and how I how God really changed my life. It had nothing to do with me. My sister came down from Texas the other day, and my nephew from my little sister got married today in the Columbus area. But she brought down one of my journals. I've had over 20 of them during my incarceration. I still do one on the computer though. This one was from, let's see, um, it says October 8th, 2001. And it's kind of neat because I can write down my thoughts during the day, and really nobody can take away my thoughts. And I'll show you briefly what the journal looks like. But I had pages and pages written, and it's kind of neat because I wrote down my sugar levels every day. I wrote down each fight that occurred during the day. I put down one of the people that was killed when I was locked up because I was actually friends with him. And when you can write a journal, it kind of helps you with your thinking pattern as well because, like, I wrote in one that my prayer life is getting stronger. And I always thought I had a good prayer life, but asking for selfish needs really isn't a good prayer life. Um, on December 24th, 2004, it's snowy, very hard outside. It's also sticking to the ground. We got about 9 inches of snow. Um, and then I put down my sugar level was 44. It went down too low and crashed that day. Another one I put down was they brought the guy in from Mansfield to the cell below mine, getting ready for his execution in the morning. We cannot sleep. We stood up, we stayed awake all night long. They had us locked down. They executed him at 12 midnight. That's the time they used to do the executions. And the inmates never could sleep because it was too close to home for us. And you know what I kind of like to tell people? That if I could change, I guarantee they could change. And I don't care what their past is like. I've had people harass me, badmouth me. One lady that just got out of Ohio Reformatory for Women came directly after me and ruined a lot of my relationships that hurt our organization to get stuff introduced. But the way I look at it is if they believe gossip, they should not be in office. If they believe gossip, they should not be working at the ODRC. And because if you're going to judge people for the past and believe everything you're told, how can you vote on fair laws for people? It's just like we have one judge here in Franklin County that prejudges people and won't have anything to do with them. And then they have to go in front of him. You know you don't have a chance. You're guilty till proven innocent. Those are the judges and the people we don't need in office. We need godly people. We need people of compassion, but people that do follow the law, people that can give people a chance when it's applicable. Um, but I was really reading through some of my journal the other day, and I don't remember a lot of it. Um, I did write one thing. I bought 4 boxes of Debbie's at the store, and of course they lasted less than an hour. And now I'm hungry again. I mean, stuff like that might not mean much, but I was kind of ticked off because my parents did send me money in, but when I had something that I liked, I didn't have self control. And I did work out at the gym a lot, and that's when they said the free weights. And one year I won the squatting contest, and that's when you have the weights on your back and you had to squat. But uh, that was when I was at Ross, and when I was at Ross, they would have competitions against um, Chillicothe, and they would transfer us there for a competition or them to us. We had softball matches against staff or other people from the outside. There was some stuff that was fun for us, but being away from family was really difficult. My first 5 years, I remember at the holidays, especially Christmas time, I didn't leave my cell. I was too depressed. But as time went on, and as I started meeting a lot of friends that actually were Christian friends, people that I can trust, people that would look out for each other, um, we started making big prison break on Christmas. And for those that don't know what prison break is, it is ramen noodle soups, summer sausage or tuna, mayonnaise, cheese, pickles, and you eat till you're sick and then you throw up all night. But that was our meals that we ate. And when you ate summer sausage, it's not the healthiest. And the ramen soups are definitely not. And I think that's how I got my heart disease. But and okay, this one was July 1 of 2001. It says today is commissary. Uh, they passed out for free laundry soap, which was really not good at all. So I'm washing clothes. I did not call home today. There just is nothing to talk about. I got a letter from Aunt Evelyn. She passed right now. And the newsletter from the city mission, which is the Cleveland City Mission. I guess I'll iron my clothes. Um, uh, I'm trying to think. It was somebody's birthday, and the guy's wife died. I can't remember what his name is now. It says Jake, but I don't really remember him. They were married 55 years. Oh, that was my uncle. No, they couldn't have been my uncle and aunt. It was somebody else. They were married 55 years, I believe. It's uh, it's hard when an inmate loses someone in their family, and believe me, it's very hard. Um, a lot of times when you notify the institution, they don't tell the inmate right away. The institution's automatically supposed to call the chaplain. The chaplain's supposed to notify the inmate. They're supposed to notify you within, I think it's 42 hours. And I got a call about 2 months ago from a lady that she was notified almost a month after that loved one died, and he was actually buried in the prison cemetery. Um, so a lot of heartache does take place. I had a good friend when I was at Marion. His name was Gerald Loomer. We ate together every day. We talked. We laughed. We got in fights. And when I got out, I knew this guy. First of all, this guy had serious. He had cancer, pretty bad, um, and he had a leg amputated due to breaking his leg years earlier, and the state did not take care of it. So the state amputated his leg. And remember, this is a white man. They they made an artificial leg for him. So he goes down to Franklin Medical Center, which at the time was CMC, and they fit him for the leg. And the problem was, it was a black leg. They mixed up on the color. Well, they didn't want to change it, so we wrote the informals, the grievances. They finally did change it. But his where they amputated his leg was getting blisters from trying to use this leg. It did not fit properly. Well, I knew this gentleman was innocent. So when I got out, he was the only person I made a promise to that I was going to um, fight for him. Well, I ended up being the president of Ohio Cure, and I held a fundraiser separate from Ohio Cure to help fight Gerald Loomer's release. And we also had an attorney that volunteered to help out, Joel Spitzer. I have so much respect for Joel with his compassion for others. Um, So we had a fundraiser at Matthew 2535 Ministries building at the time, which was Steve Fletcher. He said, "Sure, come on in." Didn't charge us nothing. We had a coney dog sale, and I think we gave either macaroni salad or potato salad. You could pick from either one, and a can of pop. And I think we charged $6.50 for adults, $5 for children, and under a certain age free. Then of course we had a raffle. We raised about $500. So as we finished up that day, we started getting the help that he needed for his release. Well, Joel Spitzer was just about to meet with him, but I got a call from Joe Cologne, his brother, saying they yanked the feeding tube out of him, and OSU said they were not permitted to touch that feeding tube. And so Gerald told the nurse that, and the nurse says, "I don't care, we're taking it out." So I believe Gerald called um, his sister, and his sister called me about this, and I got on the phone, and while I was on the phone, I guess Gerald Loomer died sometime in between, and I did go to his funeral, and that was really hard because it didn't look like the man I knew. And I'm a person, I do not like funerals in any sense. But I was hoping so much to help him out. And he wasn't the only one. There was a lady by the name of Dina Lambert who was at Ohio Reformatory for Women back in the early 90s. I wrote her from Grafton. Of course, I was not the nicest person, so the writing didn't last very long. She was a very godly lady. Well, when I got out on January 24th, 2011, and I was the president of Ohio Cure, I got a letter from Dina. And, I'm trying to figure out, how did I know her? She knew who I was. Well, we started writing back and forth. At that time, I didn't use JPay, knew nothing about it. I don't even think they had JPay, which is the email for the inmates. But we started writing a little bit. She was telling me about a project she was working at Ohio Reformatory for Women, and that was to bring awareness for human trafficking. And they started incorporating that into the orientation for the women coming in. And I never thought there was human trafficking inside a prison, but I realized that today it was happening in the men's prison as well. If you force your cellie, which is your roommate in a cell, or your bunkie who lives either on top or below you on a bunk, if you force them to go out and do anything for Debbie's, coffee, cigarettes at the time when you allow smoke, that is considered human trafficking. Well, Dina asked me one day, she said, "I want you to come in and talk to the lifers." That was really an honor. So I called Amy Wicks up. I said, "Amy, I need you to go with me. These women will kill me when I go in there." I've heard so many stories about the women. But as soon as we walked into, I think it was a gymnasium where all the women were sitting on bleachers, and there had to be several hundred of them. Dina Lambert was sitting right there in a wheelchair, and I walked over to her because I recognized her. She got right up out of that chair and gave me the biggest hug that I've ever got. And anybody that knows me, I'm not really a huggy type person. But I couldn't say no to her. And she looked so beautiful. And she finally got to meet her daughter or rekindle their relationship after 27 years of her being locked up. And that's Dia. And she's a very lovely young lady. Um, but she was on the phone, I believe, with her when Dina died. And that was really sad to even hear about that. But over the years of being out and while I was locked up, I lost so many friends. One guy up at Grafton walked down to medical because he was having chest pains. His name was Mr. Bihar. I still remember to this day. Well, medical yelled at him, said, "Go back to your dorm. I don't want to see you ever walk up here by yourself." Well, on the way back to his dorm, he dropped dead of a heart attack. So what did the state do? They swept it under the carpet, just as they do so much because they don't want lawsuits, and they protect their officers even when they're in the wrong. quite often. But this is more or less just a reflection over the years that if I was never locked up, not that I wished I committed crimes, I was wrong on it. I was not guilty of what I was convicted of, but I still did something. But if I did not experience this, I would not have the compassion, most likely, for those who are locked up. I would not oppose the death penalty as I do today. I would not take the time to J-pay or accept calls from inmates. But I know they're hurting. That sometimes the family member just calls me a cry because the little son got locked up, or the daughter, or the husband got locked up, and I never ask them what for or anything. If they share with me, that's fine, and of course it's confidential. But and I just listen to them. I get called sometimes from the victims that cuss me out. I got called by Dina Lambert's victim. And anybody that knows Dina's story, she was a victim of human trafficking. And she stabbed one of her Johns. And of course, the daughter of that man was after her. And like I told her, and I was compassionate, and I really do care about the victims and stuff. I said, but if your dad was not out there forcing her to have sex, and that's really what happened. This was against her will. That probably would not have happened. So there's always two sides to every story. And some of the stuff that happens is self-defense, but Ohio did not have a self-defense law. When I was at Ross, we had an 82-year-old man that was locked up for murder. He just got locked up. And he got locked up because he walked into his house and a guy was raping his daughter, and he shot and killed the guy. So they charged him and convicted him of first-degree murder. When any father or family member or friend would have probably done the same thing. So laws need to change to protect people, but we also need laws that are going to give our folks a chance upon their release. Um, that's one reason we're working to reform the Ohio Parole Board. That their policies need a change. That's why we're so eager to help people upon their release from prison, so that they can get stable housing, stable work, they can get on their feet. And that's why we really want to get into the transition housing initiative, is to help people. It's not going to correct the whole problem, but we'll be able to house some people with lack of family support. We want to have a unit for women, a unit for men, not by each other though, so that we could help each other out. Well, folks, always remember to lift our incarcerated brothers and sisters up in prayer, as well as the homeless folks. A lot of our homeless folks were incarcerated at one time. Okay, folks, have a great night.